you narrow your success down to a few things. I think we should just bring those straight to the surface, and maybe we can dissect them if you'd like. So you survived the 2008 recession, right? Tough year. 2009 was probably a tough year, and you attribute that to quality control, outstanding service, community-based marketing, and an emphasis on strong relationships. So what did you mean by quality control? How were you leaning on quality control to survive this recession?
Yeah, I think in that time, and again, it was something that I learned through another person in EO. He was sharing about a bakery over in California, and the recession hits, and what everyone was doing is they were cutting food costs. Let me use cheaper butter. Let me use the lower quality grade cheese. And he said, but what this company did in turn was like, no, we're going to continue to provide quality. We're going to continue to, this is what gave us success instead of just it being about numbers. And then I really took that to heart. And so one of the things we really focused on was like, hey, when a customer that I used to see 3 times a week is now only coming every other week because they lost their job, like we got to make sure that because they're carving out, time and budget to like spend money with us, like it's got to be an incredible,
the best experience.
It's got to be great. Like we can't cheapen it, right? And so that's something we really focused on is like making sure the quality was always there, making sure, and it's not just the product, but just the whole experience.
Yeah.
Like I remember, I still never forget, like when it was like in the height of recession, having kind of this all hands meeting is like, guys, like now more than ever, we've got to like really dig in and like provide world-class hospitality. Because people, like the resources aren't there. And if they're coming on, there's so many other places they can go. And if they're limited on where they're going to go and they choose us, we got to make sure it's like it's special.
And just a side note, we don't need to wait for a recession to start doing this. Right?
No.
And like that mentality of doing what you do even better. Kaizen, is that I know you're a fan of Toyota. What's the CEO's name again, the founder? You mentioned his name earlier. The 5 layers of why. Right?
Yeah.
But anyway, back to Kaizen is that mentality of constant improvement, right? And that's what quality control is. It's looking at what you have and how can you make it better, right? And it's always trying to improve. And like I said, you don't have to wait for a recession to start doing this. Like start doing this now, right?
Yeah.
So what things do we need to consider when we're trying to make these little tweaks to constantly improve?
Yeah, and I think another part of like quality control, or let me back up. I think another part of like what enabled us to have success during that time was I also realized I can't just sit in the store waiting for people to come. I need to go out, right? And it's about relationships. It's about connecting with people. And so I had this moment like I need to get out. And so what I started doing is I literally would just go out. I'd go to office buildings, introduce myself, give out free drink cards.
Guerrilla marketing.
That's what I did. Just invite people to come in. And we saw that really bear fruit.
Especially when you're something that people just don't, like, nobody's going to be like, I'm really in the mood for, what's the technical term for the tea again? Bubble tea? Like, people don't know what bubble tea is.
That's right.
So, like, they're not going to have a hankering for it. Like, you have to introduce it to them. You have to put it on their radar. So
or we'd have to bring it to them.
Yeah.
Because even trying to explain it, it's something you have to experience.
Yeah.
And there's no substitute for, letting someone see it, taste it, and experience it versus giving someone a card, right?
I love it. One other thing that's coming to my mind that you mentioned earlier is when you're training somebody, you bring them to other places. And I think when it comes to quality control, we need to paint that picture of perfection. And sometimes we need to put that picture of perfection up against something that's not perfect so you can see the difference, so you can see the importance of the value. Do you want to reflect on that?
Yeah, so the quality control piece, one way we've got standards for that, but one of the things we do to measure it is we implemented mystery shopping. And so the mystery shop is curated on, because we can obviously measure food costs, we can measure sales, we can measure labor, but how do you measure like how you execute on the experience day in and day out?
Yeah.
The only way you could do that is like having, a mystery shopper come in. And so we created this questionnaire that basically said, okay, once you come in, like it's this, I always say it's all the experience. Like, what do you see? Is it clean? What do you hear? Is there music? What do you smell?
The music's off right now because we're recording the podcast.
And then what do you, and then it says, when you approach, did someone greet you? Right? Did they make eye contact? Right? And so
you set the standards.
Yeah. Or was it just kind of generic? And so that way, once we've created this process, right, then you can train that.
So you're creating a vision of what the perfect experience is.
Correct.
And you're listing the most important things. And like that's what you're basing this off of.
Right. And then we model it, and then we also practice it. So during the training, we'll do mock. I'll walk in like, hey, like it's about how do we actually engage in conversation so it's not transactional.
Awesome.
Because it could be, hey, how you doing? Regular or large? Do you
Yeah.
want bubbles?
Yeah.
Okay, it'll be ready in a second.
Yeah.
That's just transactional.